Boom, just got the pin in on our Twitter, and if you are watching here, you're watching some Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk. We're live again. We got to be about the 10th episode by now, and I'm here with my pal here, Hunter Moeller. What's up, Hunter?
What's up? Nothing much.
You're going Hawkeyes, not Chiefs today, I noticed. You're only half strength.
Yeah, I just said, which game's closer? And
Yeah, that's right.
We're looking at it this weekend, it doesn't look very pretty, but
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
from a Hawkeye standpoint.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And then Nick Steffens, of course, here on the ones and twos, helping us out here. Really running the show more than helping us out. We're kind of helping him out.
Yep.
Yeah, this is low energy. Are we coming in with some low energy just because neither of us feel very good? I feel low energy right now, and that's going to stop right now. It's a high energy show. It's a high energy show, and we're gonna bring the pep. I should have wrote that on my note. I'm wearing my special. My wife. Shout out to my wife for giving me this quarterback sleeve. So I should have wrote some good notes on here. Next week I'll just have all my notes.
It's a good idea,
Today,
actually.
Today it's just fashion.
Really gets us in the feel of being a high school athlete.
It's football. Yeah, it's playoff
Football,
season.
yeah.
You gotta get in the playoffs. You gotta start buying your quarterback sleeves. You gotta start reading defenses, all that stuff. Anyway, we're gonna talk about a little football because it's a wild. It's funny. I always think like, we don't have a lot of time to goof around at the beginning of the show today. But then all I want to do is goof around.
Yeah, I know.
But we got some big football games to get into. We were both at a couple huge ones. The playoffs start this weekend for small schools. For a couple of our big schools, and we'll get into that a little later, or really soon. The playoff picture is about to be all finished up because there's one more week left of the big schools, and it's getting crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's went by, real quick, and obviously it's, a couple weeks here, and it'll be, all over. So
yeah, that's right.
Felt like it, just a couple weeks ago it was start of the season, or, but now it's crunch time for a lot of our area schools, and there's some big matchups, and they just keep getting bigger every week. So yeah,
it's crazy. Cross country will be over in a week and a half because state is next weekend. Volleyball by this time next week. Who knows how many teams we'll have left, and then football is just starting to playoffs. So I'm going to jump into one of our biggest games of the week, and I was there. Washington and Fairfield, the Battle of Highway 1. And it was quite the battle. Fairfield had threatened early to pull off their first win over Washington since the 2009 football season. They were up 20-0. Tate Allen had run a touchdown in and found Max Wheaton for a couple of passing touchdowns. And Hunter, by the end of it, it was 35-28. Washington with a huge comeback.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably no bigger game for playoff implications, as we were talking about it before the show here. And all you got to say is what a comeback by Washington. I mean, it's hard to come down from 20-0 and win a game, especially doing that, the performance that they did. So, kudos to them for pulling out a win. And now it's coming down to the very last week for, the three teams, Grinnell, Fairfield, and Washington, and who's going to get in. And you can kind of explain, a little bit how that kind of all work out, could play out. There's multiple ways you can look at it.
Well, first off, it was insane how the game played out. It was 20-0, as I said. It was early, boom, 20-0. Washington scored once in the second quarter, got in on a rushing touchdown by James Strabla. I guess he caught a pass and then got a 2-point conversion to cut it to 20-8. That was the sign you thought, okay, maybe Washington's in it. They're alive here. It's not quite over. And then Fairfield went for the jugular with about 30 seconds left, a deep ball to Max Wheaton, which all had been paying off that entire game, but Ethan Patterson was back there. He picked it off and ran it all the way back to the 10. And they scored on the next play, so then all of a sudden, halftime, they missed the 2-point, but it's 20-14. A totally different game from just a few minutes ago. A little back and forth in the third quarter. Come down fourth quarter, Fairfield's up 28-20. Washington once again driving. They have to score and two to tie it. What happens? The all-star, Ethan Patterson, goes down with a shoulder injury, one that looked bad. It happened right in front of me. He had it landed on. He was grabbing it. He had to come out of the game, which put in the backup quarterback and also basically told Fairfield, hey, we're gonna ride our running back Taven Stewart, and that's exactly what they did. They handed it off in the shotgun. He went outside. He went up the middle. He ran all around. They knew he was going to run it, and he still did it. He scored. They got the 2-point conversion to tie it up. Then, boom, onside kick. Deshaun Westfall Edwards had a perfect onside kick on his Layden that fell on the onside kick. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, Washington might win this game. I go back and forth between the Washington and Fairfield sidelines. If there's two of our teams, I go back and forth. And at this point, I'm staying on the Fairfield sidelines, and you can kind of feel like the gasp of like, oh my gosh, we've had this game the whole time, and they just gave it to Taven Stewart over and over and over. Scored at the end. He had a huge game. Ethan Patterson came out for the last drive for those guys. And he only threw the ball 2 times. One was for a touchdown, but he came out for the last drive despite the shoulder. He said in the post-game interview that, quote, nothing was keeping me out of this game. So hopefully he's okay for this next week against Grinnell. But real quick, that's 35-28. So what that does, and I have been looking over the playoff scenarios, and we were talking about it before the show, Hunter. Mm-hmm. This week, Fairfield hosts Grinnell, who sits in second place, 1 game ahead of the Trojans and the Demons. Mm-hmm. Washington plays West Burlington Notre Dame. I should have brought a whiteboard maybe next time. Oh, maybe can I steal this? No, you can't read that. I should have brought a whiteboard. But if Fairfield wins and Washington loses, Fairfield is in as the number 2 team in Class 3A District 5. If Washington wins and Fairfield loses, then Grinnell's going because Grinnell would be the second place team. The reason that Fairfield would get in over Grinnell if Washington lost is they'd be tied in second, Fairfield get through. But the exciting math scenario that everyone's waiting to see is what happens if both of our teams win this weekend. What happens if Washington knocks off West Burlington, which Washington is favored, and these are both home games. Mm-hmm. Fairfield beats Grinnell, which wouldn't really be a huge upset. It's home. It's a coin flip. That would set up the ultimate 3-way tie. They've each beaten each other 1-1. There's only going to be one spot. They're not going to have a high enough RPI for 3 teams to get in that district. Obviously, Solon's already in. Mm-hmm. And I have a story out. It's coming out in the newspaper tomorrow. It's online right now where you can read. I tried to dissect, kind of the situation. And all I can say is that the RPI that breaks those 3-way ties is going to be right there. Right now, Grinnell's 17. I believe Washington's 23 and Fairfield's 24. But in the scenario of both of our teams winning, that means Grinnell loses. It's basically going to be a virtual 3-way tie in RPI, and we're going to be on Saturday morning sitting here and refreshing the Iowa High School Athletic Association to see who gets in. So a little wild.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest drama that we've had. We had drama between big games or the Columbus Alburnett game, was for a district title, things like that. But but we knew those teams were both going to make it in.
Of course.
But looking at this is probably the biggest drama that we're going to have, thus far, and maybe all season with our teams getting it in or getting in.
It's a lot of scoreboard watching. And by the way, if anyone wants to know what the RPI is, it's your record plus your opponent's record plus your opponent's record. So if it's a 3-way tie, Grinnell will have the worst record of the 3 because they will be 4-5, and the other 2 will be 5-4. But Grinnell has a stronger schedule. Washington right now seems to have a stronger schedule than Fairfield. They're a little ahead, but Washington's going to play a team that's lower, and Fairfield's going to play a team that's higher, so they're going to squeeze together. So basically, all 3 of them are squeezing right together, and it's going to be a couple of percentage points if that happens.
Yep.
Obviously, there's some easier stuff, but it's a lot easier. It was a lot easier in the local Class A district where Columbus played Alburnett this weekend. You were there, and that was straight up the winner is the district champion. What happened?
Yeah, it doesn't get much bigger than this matchup right here between these two teams. Obviously, Alburnett's taken down some real big opponents throughout the season, and Northland. I can't remember if they beat East Buchanan, but I believe they played them close. I know that, but regardless, obviously Columbus had yet to be stopped. This was one of the highly touted matchups of the season, like I mentioned. But coming in, it was a close one as we expected. Columbus gets their first loss of the season, but a great Alburnett team, 32-31 in overtime. Late in the game, Jeff Hoback, Columbus quarterback, was able to he leapt towards the end zone while getting tackled by 2 people to make it 19-17. Columbus's defense has kind of been, I guess, underrated. A lot of people have just been talking about the run game, but their defense came up huge, forced a 4th and 19. Riley Cowberg, who's one of their linebackers, blew through the hole, sacked the Alburnett quarterback for 4th and 19. They forced an incompletion because at that time Alburnett was trying to go for it to basically retake the lead. 3 plays on the next drive, and Tristan Miller, one of their star running backs, takes her 41 yards to the house, but left Alburnett with too much time. And Alburnett's passing game, they were able to, they have their quarterback's real good. Mason Neighbors, his name, and he was able to kind of and put the ball around the field, and he did that on the last drive with 1:26 left. And on that touchdown with Tristan, after Tristan Miller made it, Columbus elected to not kick a field goal, which would have won them the game. They tried to go for 2, and they couldn't get it, so that left basically it was 8 points, 8-point differential, 25-17. Alburnett went down the field in the 1:26, scored with 30 seconds left, and completed the 2-point conversion, sent it to OT, and then Columbus got the ball first in overtime, but Kane Amagon, first play, 10-yard touchdown from 10 yards out because it started at the 10-yard line. Missed the extra point, and Alburnett scored in 3 plays, and their kicker was kicking from about 40 yards out. So he put it right through the upright, and Alburnett walked away with the victory there. And for the first half of the game, it was pretty neck and neck. Neither team scored in the first quarter, which was kind of surprising. But then going into halftime, Alburnett led 10-7, and in the third, Columbus, or both teams were tied after the third quarter going into the fourth. So, I mean, doesn't get much better from an excitement standpoint in this game. And obviously, district title on the line, Alburnett wins it. But for Columbus, they're still in the playoffs. Still one of the highly stouted teams in the playoffs in general. So they got a first big round matchup this Friday. So against Maquoketa Valley. So.
Yeah, that's a helpless situation when you're down to just a PAT to lose it. But
right.
It was tough. It was crazy because we were both at such exciting games. And I was refreshing, Twitter to see what you were tweeting at the same time. I was back and forth the whole time. So, which is what we said last week. We said this is gonna be the week, the big week to have those really close games, and we had a few other ones. One team that had a shot here to potentially get their first win, they went to Clinton, and Clinton was the tied for the last in the district is Mount Pleasant. They went up and they just had a horrible first half. Second half was fine, but Clinton went up 28-0 after the first quarter.
Yep.
It was 42-6 at halftime. Very eerily similar to last year, where there's something about Clinton hasn't been that strong of a team, but for some reason the way that they match up with Mount Pleasant has given the Panthers fits, especially early on, because it's happened the same thing last year. It was just the first half. It was just like crazy stuff. Mount Pleasant outscoring 20-7 in the second half, but the damage had been done.
Yeah, for Mount Pleasant, we were kind of expecting to be a little closer just because Burlington, beat Clinton, and then Mount Pleasant came out with that great performance against Burlington
almost
the week
beat
before.
Burlington. Burlington almost beat Liberty too.
Yeah, we were both shocked by that one, but just tough week for the Panthers there, and they're facing North Scott this week, which they're one of the better teams and they're one of the top 2 teams of them in Iowa City Liberty in that district. So another tough week to wrap up the season here for Mount Pleasant, but they just got to go in and with a positive mindset and lay it all out there against a tough North Scott team.
It's actually funny, I think the last time Mount Pleasant was up at North Scott, it was during the expanded playoffs because of the COVID year, and North Scott, I believe, was undefeated, and Mount Pleasant went up there and was leading at halftime. It was almost the upset of the century. And North Scott went on to win the state title a couple of years ago. So maybe there'll be a little magic on that field, because I remember sitting there like, oh my gosh, Mount Pleasant, I beat this. They would knock off one of the best teams in the whole state.
Right.
And, they came this close. It was such a high-scoring game. I forget what the final score was, but it was a wild one. But anyway, so hopefully Mount Pleasant can have a good ending over there. Jacob Rickman did throw for a couple touchdowns, so the passing game looked good again, but just couple close calls earlier this year. I think were Mount Pleasant's big chances with West Burlington and not Clinton. But anyway, we had some small school drama this weekend. The one game that I was really looking forward to, not really even the game, but besides the Columbus game, was I was wondering if Winfield Union would get in the playoffs. They beat English Valley 71-8. They needed to beat them by 17 and then make sure nothing too crazy happened around the league, around the state, the league, like we're talking about the NFL.
I know, right?
71-8, and Cam Buffington scored 8 touchdowns on 20 carries. He ran for 266 yards. So Winfield was like, we're not messing around today. We're going to give it to Cam. We're going to let him lead us into the playoffs. So Winfield Union, they're playing Don Bosco, who's the third-ranked team at 8-man. But if I'm Don Bosco, I would not like to see a team like Winfield with the athletes they have coming into town. So,
but yeah, I know for sure. And, that's going to be a really, because Winfield kind of got in that last spot there, I feel like they might be kind of slept on a little bit. But it's
Maybe.
like they've got, 2 D1 athletes on their team and, great core guys around them. So looking forward to that one. But if you want to go to the next one, obviously number 2 Waco and 8-man taking on Tri-County. No problem for the Warriors in this one, 42-10. Obviously, they wrapped up the first spot they wrapped up the first spot in the district a while ago. But yeah, they won by 32. Simeon Reichenbach only had 5 carries all game long, which we kind of expected that with them already clinching that spot. Loudon Housing Gate ran for 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Cole Hillebrand had 1 fumble recovery in the win. So, Waco, I can't remember who you can kind of touch on because you.
Waco plays Martinsdale St. Mary's this week. So Waco's big favorites in that. Martinsdale, which is where they played in Martinsdale.
That's where they played.
Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, Southeast Warren.
Obviously, we're still there. A little disadvantage. Martinsdale got to see them right there.
Yep.
They came to their own town to play a little game in front of them. New London, 72-14 over HLV. Expected. The Tigers will wrap up number 2 in the district. They don't get a home game. They're on the road. Bowden Pickle, 107 yards and 2 scores. And they are on the road to Gladbrook Rhinebeck.
Which is a tough matchup, I think. But I was kind of looking at who they've played, and they've played some close games.
Yeah, they played Don Bosco within 3, so Gladbrook's pretty good. I'll tell you what, though. About 4 years ago, who New London played in the first round of the playoffs?
These guys, and then won the state title.
Gladbrook Rhinebeck. They went on to win the state championship. So that's, you kind of like that. I'm sure they'll be riding. New London likes to ride the yellow school bus. They don't like to take the charter buses.
I know.
Because I think it's bad luck. So I'm sure they'll be crammed in the school bus and ready to get out and hit some people. So that's a fun one up in Gladbrook.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. And then next up, we got Pekin. Pekin took down Highland 35-8. We kind of thought this would be a real good matchup for Highland still looking for their first win in this one, but Pekin rolls. Sophomore Will Adam had 202 yards and 2 scores on 7 carries for Pekin. And then Highland obviously finishes their year without a victory, but we always talked about throughout this season is they lost a lot of talent, lost a lot of starters from the line to the skill positions to the defense. So brighter days are ahead for the Huskies, and Pekin obviously improved so much from last year. Yeah,
and what a night for a sophomore to go out like that. This season that creates huge momentum towards next year. Sigourney Keota 69, Van Buren County 20. This is at Van Buren. Obviously, Sigourney Keota has been on fire. They've got Sumner Fredericksburg, the most annoying team to spell in the whole world, coming to the pit for the first round next Friday. So Sigourney Keota rolling. Van Buren County, of course, couldn't quite sneak in the playoff this year. They got a talented senior group that just couldn't quite end there. Reed Molyneux ran for 172 and 2 for the Cobras. So there's a name right there when you got the Clarihans and the Molyneux.
Is that how you say it?
Molyneux or
is it Molyneux? I think it's Molyneux.
Molyneux?
I think it's Molyneux.
Oh, well, there we go. Messed that one up. Well, the X, I thought he was from the Bayou. And so it was like, how they say go Tigers, G-E-I-O.
I get what you're
understandable.
Saying.
All right.
Moving on, we've got Mid Prairie rolling over Davis County 42-6. They wrapped up 3rd place in the district with this win here. Braden Hartley ran for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Grady Gingrich shot 2 passes for 73 yards and 2 scores as well. And Mid Prairie, they're going to be facing off with Northeast, obviously River Valley Conference foe there.
Yeah,
don't play each other, but don't play each other through the regular season. So. Mid Prairie whooped them in basketball. Fun fact for last year, I had to go to state.
Northeast people here.
Sorry, Northeast people, but they're I don't know if they'll be looking at kind of that, but I'm sure there's some. I mean, being conference foes in itself is a reason to want to whoop on a conference opponent, but put
it on them.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked at the BC More rankings, and they have the little score predictions, and that is predicted to be our closest playoff game this week.
What is it?
Mid Prairie is actually favored by a little bit. It's obviously it's at Northeast, so that gives them a little boost. But Mid Prairie had a little bit of higher strength, so I think they're favored by a 5 or 6. Pleasantville 50, Cardinals 17. Cardinals one of our more beat up teams, injury wise late in the season. Pleasantville, what they got in the playoffs with that, right? I think they got 4.
I believe so.
So obviously they had a ton to play for, so that's tough for Cardinal. And then real quick over here to the college ranks, Iowa Wesleyan had a tough one. They went all the way up there to Valley City State, a team that I thought they had a chance to beat, but 32-0 in Valley City, North Dakota. So I don't know, it's a long ways up, and they're going to be taking another one at Presentation in South Dakota. So another big bus ride up there. They need to win this weekend pretty badly. So that's all we got for some football. And there we go. Let's see what do my notes say. Oh, that's right. It's time for a break. Listen, you gotta stick with us, guys.
2 minutes.
It's 2 minutes. The show's getting big, popular, longer commercial breaks. Sit back. You could probably go to the bathroom, but
Yeah,
don't,
we're good.
because these are important commercials. Stay tuned.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a type of care that focuses on living. Servicing a 7-county area, the Hospice of Washington County staff of nurses, social work, hospice aides, spiritual and grief support, volunteers, music and massage therapists are able to provide free end-of-life care where the patient lives. We write wills, give consent for organ donation, but rarely is there a plan for what we would want the final phase of our lives. At Hospice of Washington County, we encourage our patients to be in charge of their healthcare decisions while maintaining quality of life.
At the Capper Auto Group, we put our customers' needs first and understand that everyone is as different as the vehicle they select. We offer new Ford, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram vehicles in a friendly environment that puts you in the driver's seat. When it comes to service, we maintain factory-trained technicians and competitive pricing. The Capper Auto Group still believes that service after the sale provides the best customer experience. Come see the Capper experience for yourself.
Welcome back. Thank you for sitting through the 2 minutes, but it's really not sitting through when you're talking about our sponsors. I mean, you got the awesome video ads. They work hard on those, so, it's exciting. Even the commercials are exciting on Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Live. Oh, you know what I forgot to talk about earlier?
What's that?
Where to watch Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk. Washington Live YouTube, Washington Live Facebook, Mount Pleasant Live Facebook, Fairfield Live Facebook, and we're also on Spotify. Washington Live on Spotify, Washington Live on Spotify. Should probably know that. We've been on Spotify for like 2 months.
Yeah, I always forget about that one.
Yeah, I know the one on Spotify. I just forget maybe I'll listen on the way back.
Me too.
We've had a crazy couple weeks in volleyball. We talked about the Southeast Conference Championship last week. We got some playoffs coming up, and we had some postseason action.
Yeah, big games.
Yeah, you were at two of our teams, Mid Prairie and Washington, faced off in Wellman, and how'd that go?
Yeah, Mid Prairie coming in number 11 in Class 3A, and Washington played some close games throughout the Southeast Conference this season. Been in some close games. But Golden Hawks have no problem in this one.
Yeah.
They sweep Washington. Washington ends their season 9-23. Mid Prairie took it 25-6. The second set was close, kind of in the early stages, and then Mid Prairie pulled away kind of when they got up into the double-digit scores there, 25-15 in the second set, and then the last set was probably the most dominant of the night for Mid Prairie, 25-5. So the Golden Hawks are moving on. They play Davis County tomorrow. Washington's season's over, but they've got a lot of, I talked to Coach Six after the game, they got a lot of young talent. On that team. They're very young. A lot of, a couple big freshmen stepping up there, and then, some sophomores, a couple juniors will be coming back. So, as I said, brighter days are ahead for the Demons in Mid Prairie. They're kind of upperclassmen led. So, right now's their time. So exciting for Mid Prairie, and they're continuing their season in Washington. We'll be back. That's
true. I'd say Washington girls are just one of those groups that have a lot of the younger talent is there in a lot of sports. So we'll talk about that more in the winter. And it was a 2-0 day for the River Valley Conference over the Southeast Conference because I was in Fairfield.
Yep.
Couldn't get it done against Tipton. Lost in 3 sets after a real tough one. Lost 25-14 in the first set. The Trojans fell 25-13 and then 26-24. They led 24-21 in that last set. It just kind of felt, like in the last couple sets, like they're anybody's game. It really felt like, Fairfield's kind of getting over the hump a little bit, especially in that third set. They seem to have found a groove. But the old Southeast Conference champions couldn't quite get it done. Rowan Terrell had 5 kills in that one. Macy Grayburn had a huge streak in the third set that put Fairfield up quite a few points there early. But Tipton had a lot of athletes, and I knew it would be tough. Tipton didn't have a great record, but they played Mid-Prairie really close this year. They play a lot of really tough teams on their schedule, and so we knew it would be a tough one over there in Fairfield, but couldn't get him. So so Tipton moves on to Davenport Assumption, and Mid-Prairie will be hosting Davis County in the Final Four in the local 3A region. And and then in the 4A, our only 4A team. Mount Pleasant's one of the smallest 4A teams, but they were down playing Burlington, and you were there last night. It was pretty exciting, right?
Great all-around matchup. We expected nothing less between these Southeast Conference foes here. Obviously, every team in that conference, as we mentioned, has played close all season long. And Mount Pleasant has played Burlington 5 other times this season, lost all 5, and they win it when it matters most, 3-2. They went to the 5th set. No surprise, Mount Pleasant won the first set 25-23. Burlington bounced back, won the second 25-18. Mount Pleasant came back again, won the third 25-23. Burlington dominates the fourth 25-10, and Mount Pleasant in the 5th set, Burlington came out with a 4-2 lead, and then Mount Pleasant just jumped on them and won at 15-7. So, if you're Mount Pleasant, you're feeling really good about a team that's beat you 5 times throughout the regular season. And, that's one of the questions I asked them last night, and they all said they were real bummed because, they've had, the Greyhounds have had the Panthers number all season long.
They have.
But
I told Coach Streeter at the Southeast Conference tournament, I told him 6 times the charm, so you gotta give me credit because it was true. It rang true.
You really said that?
I did, yeah, because he said they beat us 5 times.
Yeah, well, like you said, they win when it matters most, and now they're moving on, and they'll be heading to Oskaloosa tomorrow. And, they played Oskaloosa once. I believe it was in the tournament. I think they lost on 2-0, but I believe it was. I believe the final scores. I remember looking at them. It was like 21-16, 21-15. So I mean,
they played with them.
Not too far off. But so should be a good game. And if you're Mount Pleasant, you're the only team left from the big schools. So you're feeling pretty good heading in tomorrow. Yeah,
and I don't remember who won last night between Fort Madison and Keokuk, but there's only 2 SEC teams. Keokuk won that last night, I think.
I can't.
Either way, Mount Pleasant's one of the last 2 SEC teams. They find a way to catch that lightning. Yep. They did in the Southeast Conference tournament the last 2 years, and they had a really rough last night, and maybe that was kind of something that they could wipe away and build off of a little bit and play a little looser on last night. So could you imagine? It's not it's definitely not a rollover game for Oskaloosa. So Mount Pleasant could definitely beat Oski. And could you imagine after that performance in the SEC championship if they were able to come out and earn a regional finals berth? That would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, and for them not winning, that obviously they were Southeast Conference champions 2 years in a row.
Yep.
So I mean, it has to feel good for them to know that they're the last team. And by the way, Fort Madison did beat Keokuk 3-2.
Fort Madison beat Keokuk
3-2.
Oh no.
So yep.
My eye doctor's daughter's on the Keokuk team, so I was cheering for Keokuk on that one. So that's tough. That's
a tough one.
Anyway,
but
shout out Dr. Rule.
If you want me to run through this volleyball roundup real quick,
because there's been some
from our smaller schools.
From smaller schools, they're going, huh?
And they're playing tonight too. So we'll run through this real quick. New London took on Hillcrest Academy first round. No problem for the Tigers in that one. They won 25-6, 25-13, and 25-6. Obviously, that marks the end of the season for the Ravens there. They finished the year 4-24 in New London. I'll be there tonight. We'll take on Iowa Valley. They're 13-25 tonight. You don't have this pulled up, do you?
No, but
okay. I can just run. I'm just going to run through. I didn't know if you wanted to jump, but Waco, great season continues for the Warriors. They take down Melcher Dallas 3-0. Warriors take it 25-11, 25-8, and 25-8. Ella Kissel led with 9 kills in that win. Emma Wagler, 6 kills as well. Grace Cole had 22 assists, and Kissel also had a team high 11 digs, and they had 31 aces on the night. So pretty dominant.
They're a really good serving team. Waco is,
and they will play North Mahaska, who's a pretty good team, 20-8 tonight. Winfield, obviously one of our other better teams out of the Southeast Super Conference. They sweep Twin Cedars. They win 25-13, 25-11, and 25-12. Melina Oping led with 13 kills. Brady Buffington had 9. Keely Malone, 23 assists. And Keaton Townsley had 17 digs. They will take on Wapello tonight. Wapello 16-9,
North Division
16-19.
clash.
So yeah, big rivalry. They're kind of in that northern area. Van Buren moves on. Van Buren sweeps Cardinal. End of the season for the Comets. They win. The Warriors win 25-14, 25-21, and 25-4. Cardinal finishes the season 3-21, and Van Buren's going to take on a West Burlington.
Yeah, it's
so
a big
real
one there at
big,
West
big one,
Burlington, right?
At West Burlington. West Burlington ranked what I believe. The last time I checked, I think they were 6th or 8th. One of those two, I believe.
Yeah.
So tough one there for the Warriors, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. That was a big. I'm sorry to jump in. That was back. Van Buren kind of went to state a couple years ago, and when they would play West Burlington, it would be like the clash of the Titans. West Burlington had Sidney Marlowe, so and Van Buren County had Taryn Schuerman and Selena Sayer and all of them. So I just remember whenever I see that match in volleyball, I think back to how huge those matchups were. But go ahead.
I didn't get to see that, so I mean,
yeah, it was fun.
But Highland sweeps Tri-County. Huskies moving on. They win 25-20, 25-18, 25 or 27-25. Close one in that last set there. Sarah Burton leads with 16 kills. That's a game high. Adeline Kurtz has 8 kills as well. Miley Smith and Grace Pryville each has 17 assists. And Smith also had 19 digs. And Highland will take on Central City. They're 19-12. I'm not really sure about anything about Central City, but they're 19-12, so they must be okay.
They're red. I don't remember what color. I don't remember what their mascot was, but they're red.
And jumping through, now this is the rest of our teams here had their seasons in. Central Decatur sweeps Pekin. Tough one for the Panthers there. They lose 25-12, 25-21, and 25-22. Emma Phillips led Pekin with 3 kills. Claire Roth, Casey Miller, and Kylie Fitzsimmons all had 2 kills. Quinlan Baker had 8 assists. Pekin ends its season 3-22. And then Keota last match here. Wapello, we mentioned playing Winfield, swept Keota 25-11, 25-15, 25-11. And Izzy Chalupa and Nicole Claren each had 2 kills. Cassandra Swans, Emily Sheets, and Grace Conger each had 1 assist. Keota finishes at season 4-19. So we had some of our teams' seasons ended, and we had some of the teams moving on. Got some big matchups tonight. So.
Yeah, big matchups tonight. And then the next round for tonight's matchups, I believe, are Monday. Unless if Mid Prairie wins, they play Tuesday. Yep. So the smaller school. So we'll play Monday semifinals, Wednesday championships, I believe, and then Tuesday the championship if Mid Prairie can have that potential clash with Davenport Assumption. Cross country, it's a huge day in cross country. Actually, I'm sitting in Washington, and it's 2:30 p.m. right now, and in about an hour and a half, the state qualifying meet here in Washington is about to kick off. So I'm sticking around here, but I was in Fairfield for the Southeast Conference meet. Washington came into this meet on Thursday night. They were champions last year of the girls and the boys, defending champions for both. The girls, you knew that they were probably going to be able to get it done. The boys had been challenged by Fort Madison a lot, and Fort Madison did give them a huge challenge. They only beat Fort Madison by 3 points, but they pulled it out. So back-to-back championships for the boys and the girls. Micah Reese became Southeast Conference individual champion for the first time. Mount Pleasant's Ben Carthley was second place. That's his best ever finish. So those two were pretty far ahead of the group there. A couple Burlington kids got in there, and then some other top 10s. Tyler Alderton, 7th for Washington. Jude Dykstra for Mount Pleasant was 8th. Lane Schrock for Washington was 9th. And then between Schrock and the top 20 closing out, there's a ton of Washington kids. For the girls, they have not been able to chase down Avery Rump of Fort Madison. She just looks so strong out there. By the way, Mike Reese is the championship time, by the way, 16 minutes, 40.06 seconds. So Avery Rump, she ran a sub-17 to win the girls' race. So good. Iris Dahl, though, of Washington was behind her. Olivia Anderson took 3rd. Olivia Anderson had a huge race. Usually she's not a top 2 Washington kid, and she she barely edged Quincy Griffiths. They came down together, and you kind of once you saw the 3 out of the top 4 Washington kids cross, you knew that everything was probably going to be okay for the Demons. Fairfield's Carly Seeley and Melina Bloomquist were 6th and 7th, and then a bunch of Washington kids there. So yeah, Washington first, Fairfield second, also in the Southeast Conference girls. So Mount Pleasant got 4th in that, and then Mount Pleasant was 4th in the boys, and Fairfield was 5th in the boys. So Demons back-to-back SEC champions. So, and probably a lot more coming because they got a lot of youth.
Yeah, you're going to see some pretty good talent tonight here in Washington for sure. It's going to be a lot of our kids running. So we've kind of been talking about from 1A, all the way to 3A. We're going to have a lot of cross country kids representing Southeast Iowa and Southeast Iowa Union up at the state cross country meet.
State cross country next weekend. Well, and Washington, especially on the boys' side, they came so close last year. They're going to be a team that could definitely make it as a team. It's not easy though when you get to these state qualifiers. Only 3 teams and the top 15 individuals move on. So we'll see. I would imagine that it'll be fun to watch Micah Reese if he can make it up there. I think Ben Carthy's got a chance for Mount Pleasant. He'll be right up there. So once you get down to that 13th, 14th, 15th, that's a really fun. Last year, Fairfield's Gavin Van Veen got the 15th spot. Just over. He collapsed over the line to get the 15th spot last year. So it's a fun meet. So it's happening here at Washington Golf and Country Club. Maybe I'll use my my quarterback sleeve here. Maybe I'll write down the top 15 seeds. That way I can have my brain
right there.
Say, yep, I know that kid. Right now it says trash, dishes, laundry, charge camera.
All your chores.
So all my chores are on there right now. But so that'll be fun. I'm excited. That's one of my favorite events all year. And then the small schools will be going tomorrow. We got some guys going over to Capella Christian. This is in the newspaper and also online to check everything out. I think Danville, New London is split. The boys are going one place, the girls are going another place because they're right on that class line.
Yep.
But most of our smaller school teams are in Capella Christian tomorrow. So Mid Prairie, obviously, huge favorites in the girls. And so we're going to have some teams going probably.
Yeah. There's gonna be a lot with how the season's played out. I mean, if there's anything drastic, a couple of our schools have been to some big cross country competitions in the state with that one recently a couple weeks ago. I guess there's nothing else to say than our area schools are showing out, and I mean we got in a week here. We'll see who's heading up to the state cross country tournament. I don't know if you call it a tournament or what a meet.
State cross country meet. That starts at 4:00. By the way, if you're watching this live and you're sitting in Washington, you got an hour and 23 minutes. You can jump over and go to grab some food at Wagon Wheel and get your teeth checked out at Delta. Then head over Fairfield and Washington people. You got plenty of time to head to our sponsors and maybe stop out to the old Thresher grounds and hang out for a little bit on your way up to Washington.
Way to plug them in.
That starts at 4, and then the girls should be. I think the girls run first at 4, and then the boys 4:45. One way or another. The trophy ceremony will be happening about 5:30, so that happens. I mean, they're fast. They get it going, and it's about 2 hours of madness, and we'll see if some dreams will be made. But I don't know. Any fantasy football dreams made for you this weekend?
Well, I play the number 1 seed, so we'll see what happens.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yeah, right. It would be a big win if I pull it out, though.
Yeah. I don't have the number 1 team in my league on my schedule this year because it's me. That's right. See how I did that?
Yeah.
First place. Anyway, that's all I got. I don't have any other house cleaning today. We're feeling good.
I'm good.
We're
I don't have
excited.
Anything. I say check out our Twitter. We'll be on there with all scores from volleyball and stuff like that.
Yes, perfect. Union Sports page. We try and get all scores, especially during the tournament, to you as fast as we can. Of course, we're at games, and so we're tweeting, and then we have to drive.
We have to retweet. We try to retweet the other scores if we see it and things like that. But.
Yep. And then we go home on the laptop, and we try and finish, get everything on there. So we'll try and get the updated stuff, the brackets, and then Friday night's action. We got 6 playoff games and 3 other big games with the big schools. So we will see you guys around. Keep watching Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk live. And I'll see you next week.
Yep. See ya.